Alright. I want to get Golden Paladin because I don't have Paladin yet. This Paladin deck's so bad. What's up, everybody?
Victory or death! I will fight with honor.
Probably don't want Aldor on 3. Oh man, Tyrion already. It's kind of a bummer. Well, we got the 2 highest cost cards in the deck, so we're really crushing this whole curve thing. Probably just gonna have to play Acolyte to cycle for 1. Ah, Lead Order might be better. It's close though, right? We don't have any way to activate our own Acolyte. Probably do this and then just go for Loot Order Hero Power on 4, worst case. If he plays something, maybe True Silver, you know, if Frothing comes out, what have you. How do I think N'Zoth Paladin will do post Karazhan? I think it'll have dragons in it. I think Dragon Paladin's the better route rather than N'Zoth Paladin, I think.
My blade be thirsty.
My card review video is not going to come out until the 10th, or no, the 9th, because my video editor is spending the weekend at his dad's for his dad's birthday. So the video will come out on the 9th. I'll have about 30 cards come out on the 9th that I'm reviewing, reviews for. And then on the 10th I'll have, you know, the rest of them, whatever's left in the set. And then like the 11th I'll say like my top 10 cards of the set. And that's pretty much right when the cards are coming out, right? There's not too much time after that. Try and get all the information I can out about the cards until they come out. I think I'm gonna play all of my 2/1s and hope he doesn't have Ghoul. Try and set up this trade, right? Like if I play Ghoul, I mean if I play Acolyte, then he just trades 1 and then plays the Ghoul and we're still boned. So if we're not beating Ghoul anyway, let's not beat Ghoul really hard, you know? The new Silence Priest archetype Blizzard has bestowed upon us. No, I'm not really excited about this. 6 mana 7/7s and 4 mana 4/5s are not great. Is this Kalento's list? No? I don't know. I'm just playing Secret Paladin, man. How valuable is this True Silver charge going into next turn? Pretty valuable. How important is killing these things? I mean, like, developing Acolyte of Pain doesn't seem too relevant. We have big boys. Turn 7 is where we don't know what we're doing. It could be Acolyte of Pain. We could just equality clear this. I don't hate it. Even play Acolyte of Pain this turn. Like our later turns, we don't really want to be equality clearing.
Is that it?
I don't think we need to play...
For justice.
Oh, I did that in the wrong order. Should have did it the other way. Save the true silver charge. I don't think we need to be playing Equality Consecrate on 8 because we want to play Tyrion on 8. We probably don't need to play it on 7 if we're using it this turn, and then... Yeah. I mean, it's low impact for what the card's, like, supposed to do, right? Like, you're supposed to be sweeping the board with it, which we kind of did, but I think cycling is better than playing the Consecrate suboptimally when our board just trades so efficiently.
Get down!
Priest of the Feast, is it actually a good card? Well, let's see. Let me first do this. Hopefully his Acolyte doesn't get it. Good. Sick of Acolyte of the Divine Shield. Priest of the Feast doesn't seem good. And the reason why Priest of the Feast doesn't seem good is Priest doesn't have a way to utilize the fact that the minion has just absolute dog shit attack and then really good health. So their hero power works fantastic with it, but imagine this. Your opponent plays Dark Iron Dwarf, off curve, just a 4/4 on the board, and you got Priest of the Feast there as your 4-drop. Theoretically, your stat line's super superior, but how does Priest buff the minion to be able to trade efficiently? They really can't, unless they're going to use Inner Fire or some garbage on it. So then, you know, I guess you could use your Power Word Tentacles or whatever, but that card's garbage on its own as well. So now, most of the time, what you're going to have to do to make Priest of the Feast be able to trade is combo with, like, Holy Smite or, you know, Holy Nova. And those are just, one Holy Nova's, like, super expensive to use for just single minion trades, so it's too situational. And then you got Holy Smite, which is just too low impact because Priest doesn't have the card draw to support it. So you have no way to really make that 3 attack be able to trade with 4 health minions super efficiently. And now you're stuck, you've traded into something to heal it. Now it's a 3/4, your opponent has a 4/1 left on the field and they just kill it. So now you're stuck in the situation where it's most optimal just to go face with the minion. And now your Priest, you have no finishers to profit off that line of play either. So there's just no line of play with that 4-drop stat line that really gives you tremendous amount of profit. So, what do you do with it? You cry on Reddit. And that's where we're at. We're not going to be playing these Consecrates later, so I want to play this so that I can effectively trade into his next minion really easily. And then I want to punch him in the noggin. Try and set up lethal threat in his Zoth and get through taunts. Now, you put that 3/6 for 4 mana in a class with some buffs that's actually got good cards standalone. Boom, suddenly it's a fine card. The card's not bad standalone. It's just not good in Priest. It's not what Priest wants to be doing. It doesn't fit their game plan, doesn't fit the theme of the deck, doesn't fit the flavor, it doesn't add a win condition to the win conditionless class. Really, they could have went 12 different ways with Priest and they chose to go none of them. Which is why people are so disappointed. Secret Paladin still work? Good enough.
Uther versus Malfurion.
I must protect the wild.
I will fight with honor.
Druid. None of these cost 1 and 2. So this wants to be being played with this, not with these guys. So I think a coin 2 into 2 is maybe better. He didn't have Living Roots. He kept a bunch of cards. That means he has Innervate stuff. I really don't want to save the coin for that. Yeah, I feel like if I save the coin, it's too slow. So I'm just gonna coin Hoarder.
Attention, class.
We're in trouble. That's for sure.
Mind if I roll me? Hey, give me that.
Well, I don't think our deck beats Innervate Violet Teacher that often. We would need like Repentance turn 1. That's fine. There's a lot of decks that can't beat Innervate Violet Teacher. This is going to get punished by Swipe pretty hard, but it does give us potential to contest. So we'll go for it and hope for the best.
Pay attention, class.
Have I talked about the new cards yet? I've recorded a video about the new cards, but I haven't published it yet.
Last warning.
None may steal.
I want to set up that trade. He didn't have removal last turn, so I'm trying to just be aggressive on the board until about turn 6. Turn 5, we got a strong play with this, and then turn 6, we plop down that guy.
I am ready to learn.
So just trying to keep up, basically, and then this is where we're going to try and pull ahead. Assuming he doesn't just power the wildest and kill us. We could kill this guy. So greedy not to kill this guy. I'm definitely taking the greedier approach here, but if we kill this guy and he just slams a 6-trap, we're screwed. What do you think about Moonglade Portal? Is it worth playing one in Yogg Druid and Ramp Druid? Nah, Moonglade Portal's not going to see any play. The reason why it's not going to see any play is because it doesn't work with... It's a late game card in Druid that doesn't work with Innervate and doesn't work with Wild Growth. Because if you Innervate out your 6-drop, what do you want out of your 6-drop? You want a big dude. Or something that has a powerful effect like Emperor Thor's Hand. Now, what you're doing with Moonglade Portal is you're spending some of that mana that you're using off the Innervate to heal yourself, which is just completely irrelevant in the early game stages. Now, also with Wild Growth, if you Wild Growth up to Moonglade Portal, some of the stats that you would be distributing onto the board is being exchanged for life, which is also useless at taking back at the board after you've invested mana into mana for future turns. With Wild Growth, Nourish, Innervate. The 3 most busted cards in the class, the entire reason you would ever play Druid, doesn't work with that card. So I don't think you want to be playing that card. I think Moonglade Portal is not going to see any play. It just doesn't fit the theme of the good cards in Druid. Now, when the good cards rotate out, which they won't because they're the class set, it could see play, but like it's just... You don't play a Druid deck without Innervate and Wild Growth. It doesn't work with Innervate and Wild Growth, you're not going to play the card.
Who am I? None of your business.
So that's my thoughts on it.
Get down!
I mean, he hasn't used his teacher yet, so I'm hoping he's not drawn, you know, good cards for it.
The land serves.
Fits my curve, better to ignore it and hope.
I am ready to learn.
Babbling Book is funny. I don't think Babbling Book's good either. I think there's only like 12 or 13 cards in the set that are that playable. I just want to thin my deck out, yeah.
None of your business.
Keep the final secret out of my deck. Now all of my draws for the future of the game are going to be good. My odds of finding N'Zoth by 10 are really good. I'm going to pull back good old Infested Torrent and stuff. Double loot order. So yeah, now we can get the Acolyte Pains down. As soon as we find N'Zoth, we win, because we get taunts down when we play N'Zoth, so and we refill our hand. So if we're not dead on board when we play N'Zoth, we win the game when we play it. So the objective of this deck is finding that N'Zoth. I thought I played Redemption. And there he is. Our friend N'Zoth. The friendly corruptor.
For justice to me.
Thoughts on potential discard Warlock? I think Soulfire and Doomguard are going to be good in Warlock. I think everyone is overrating the Silverware Golem. I think the card's going to be good. I don't think it's going to be crazy. Not necessarily even like an optimal card in the deck. I think it's worth trying and it has a chance to be playable, but it's a questionable card to put in the deck for sure. Just the amount of dead cards you can play in Zoo is very low. Like, you can't get away with having lots of dead cards in Zoo, so that's got to be a huge factor when you're considering putting cards in your Zoo lot. And then you just look at the discard math. It revolves around having, you know, 2 cards in your hand or 3 cards in your hand to be able to consistently discard the correct card to activate Silverware Golem. So without Malchezaar's Imp on the field, it's like really awkward and has a really big backfire % chance, because if you discard the wrong card and then you have to play a vanilla 3/3 as Zoo, you're probably going to lose the game. It's really just not good for you. So I'm not overly thrilled about that card for sure. But I think it could be alright. It's just the limitations around it that people are overlooking, I think, are very big. But a lot of players say that, you know, discard Zoo's gonna be crazy, but there's no way Succubus is gonna be playable. The card's just not good. And there's no way, oh, of course he gets effigy.
Nothing scares me.
For justice.
Well, let's try and stay alive here. Malchezaar's Imp's gonna be real good in Zoo, though. Malchezaar's Imp, Soulfire, and Doomguard are gonna be like really the only discard cards. Like maybe a Darkshire Librarian if you're feeling adventurous, but I don't even think that's gonna be that great. Why'd he kill a Harvest Golem? I don't know, I didn't play Magic, so I don't know anything about Madness mechanic. I just don't think the card's as good as people say. I think it's alright. Get them taunts.
I have no time for games.
Would it be better to get the adventure or not get the adventure? It depends what you want to do with the game. If you want to play the new cards everyone's talking about, you probably want to buy the adventure. Talking with your friends, playing casually, whatnot. If you want to be a competitive player in the scene, you probably want to buy all the cards. It's really hard to be competitive without all the cards. So, if you want to be up to date with your friends and play the game socially and have fun, buy the cards. If you want to be competitive, you're going to have to buy the cards. So, most of the time, you probably got to buy the cards. Alright, how much damage do we got? We got 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We're close. We're close. I want to play more taunts. I don't want him to get taunts. Alright, let's see what we do. I don't want him to get card draw, so let's ship that guy in there. I don't want him to get loose. Alright, and then let's do that.
Reporting for duty.
Is that it?
I'll just clear whatever mana he takes. Let's just go here.
Nothing scares me.
That seems good. Oh, sweet. Nilipinski just subscribed. Thanks for subscribing, dude. Welcome to the Batcave team thing. I appreciate the support, man.
By the power of
Appreciate the support.
I have the power.
2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 17, 18, 19. And Tyrion. Yeah, that's why we run so much card draw in the deck. You see, we have 3 cards left. We run 2 good cards in our deck. We run Tyrion and N'Zoth. And the goal of this deck is to draw as many cards as you can from Loot Hoarder, and then the secret package with the secrets getting pulled out of your deck with Mysterious Challenger to ensure that you pretty much always have N'Zoth and Tyrion. And then you play N'Zoth and Tyrion, and since they're just immensely better than the other cards in your deck, they carry the game and allow you to win. I think he had a much higher % chance of winning if he just punched us in the face with the 8-8.
Uther versus Malfurion.
I must protect the wild.
I will fight with honor.
Same guy? Same guy.
Nothing scares me. Except the mice.
My greetings.
Reporting for duty.
And we got a curve. Good enough. I wonder if Firebat does CrossFit? Why would I do CrossFit, man? I don't know. It seems like a lot of work. I'm pretty lazy. I see people at like the gym doing CrossFit and they're like jumping around and stuff.
What to do?
Does not seem like a safe way to exercise. Do I think Arcane Golem will see play? No, I don't think Arcane Golem will see play. Didn't see play this expansion. I don't think any of the new cards released made Arcane Golem any better. Oh, Arcane Giant. I don't think Arcane Giant's going to see much play in Tempo Mage, which was everyone's go-to, like, it's going to be insane in Tempo Mage. I just don't think Tempo Mage's gameplay and fits of like a 8-8, even at reduced cost. Like, generic 8-8 in the late stages of the game as Tempo Mage isn't very helpful. You have insane board control in, like, the middle beginning sort of things. Like, turn 3 and 4 is when you start really doing the whole insane board control thing. And then you start fizzling out of board control, and then you go to all burn spells and burn them out. That's like the game plan of Tempo Mage. And nowhere in there does an 8-8 really seem too appealing to me, so I expect it more to see play in Yogg Druid, and decks that can really, you know, fight for board throughout the entire game, be even on board, and then drop an 8-8 at a reduced stat to snowball themselves ahead on board. And Druid does that much more efficiently, you know, they're fighting for board with their whole combo-y stuff, and they fight for board all the way up to Onyxia already. Now, instead of Onyxia, you just have an 8-8 in there that's really good. So you just fight for the board, and then you play a 4-mana 8-8, and they're like, well, I've been fighting for the board evenly, but now you played a 4-mana 8-8. I can't fight for the board anymore. And then you snowball from there and win. So I think it would just be more like a card that goes over Onyxia or Scenario. So some of the 9-drops in Yogg Druid would be a lot more efficient. Whereas, you know, you look at the Tempo Mage curve, it goes to 5, and then it just kind of does nothing, and then there's Yogg. During that does nothing point, they're just fireballing you in the dome and stuff. So it doesn't really get down to 6 too efficiently. You're not controlling the board after that turn 5 point as Tempo Mage, and that's where it's like that whole question mark territory where is an 8-8 really impactful in that state of the game. Whereas actually for Druid, their curve goes all the way to 9. So you got any mana cost. Assuming you play 5 or 6 spells, the 8-8's fine in that deck and has the potential to be better. So that's why I think it's a lot better in the Druid deck.
Reporting for duty.
'Tis I who must fight.
'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight. 'Tis I who must fight
Thoughts on Fool's Bane? I'll answer the other question first. This Fool's Bane is longer. How OP is Moat Lurker plus Purify going to be? It's terrible. Not going to be seen. But Moat Lurker plus Evolve could be a thing. Like, that legit isn't that bad. This way is only 7 mana instead of 8 mana, and also you get a 7/7 on stats instead of a 3/3. So Moat Lurker plus Evolve could actually be a real thing. I wouldn't be completely shocked to see some troll deck at tier 4 be using that, but you know, not a good deck can use it because Evolve's a bad card, but I think that has potential actually. But the warrior weapon, Fool's Bane, is fairly weak. I don't expect to see too much competitive play. You take too much damage while asserting board control with it, right? So most of the time, its situation isn't going to be used like you just play it like a brawl and then clear the board, because there's just simply not enough minions that you can clear with that for that to be a reality that you're going to face. So more often than not, the way that card's going to work is you're going to play it and kill their 5-drop with 2 swings, or their 2 minions that they have on the field with 2 swings, and then next turn you're going to play a minion and then kill that minion that they played with 2 swings, and you know, you're up a minion at that point, and you've spent 12 to 15 life to get up 1 minion, which I think is just too much life for the effect. You don't really get up enough value for the amount of health that you're losing. Just the ratio for that isn't good enough. So I think that's why the card's kind of weak and lackluster. It's a cool tech card. Maybe you see it as a one-of, but I don't think it's going to be crazy strong. And look at that, man. Pull the secrets, draw a bunch of cards, thin your deck, get Tyrion on 8 every game. We're just crushing it. Fool's Bane seems like a zoo killer. Wait till you run into Imp Gang boss, man. Good luck. So many swings. Oh man. Nice tier 1 deck. Ooh.
I can see.
We didn't even get to play Tyrion yet. Can we see the deck list? This is Secret Paladin. I think Secret Paladin has not been given enough love during this. I think it has very comparable win rates to a lot of the tier 2 decks. Yet it's not even on the Tempo Storm tier list. Doesn't appear. It recently started popping up on the Vicious Syndicate tier list because of its win rate at Legend Rank and ladder. I think it's at like tier 2 or 3 on their tier list. So it like showed up recently as a competitive deck that's getting reasonable win rates. I don't know if this is the version people are playing, but I jammed Secrets and Card Draw and then Zoth and Redemption. Secret Paladin, fun and interactive? Don't get me started on fun and interactive, man. The win conditions of the cards they're printing right now are just boring and not fun and interactive, a lot of them. Like, am I the only person that's upset that Menajari Warden is a card? It's the 6-mana battlecry, choose a friendly beast, summon a copy of it. So my opponent plays... Alright, this is the fun and interactive situation that happens. We've nerfed cards in the past because they weren't fun and interactive. We've talked about card design praising the fact that we want to make everything fun and interactive. All Blizzard cares about is fun and interactive. They want you to be interactive with things, and nothing that you lose to is ever unfun. And now, all of that included in their design scheme and the things that they say and they promise, and it's always going to be fun and interactive. Now they're saying, alright, if you play Stranglethorn Tiger on turn 5... next turn, turn 6, you can play Menadry Warden, make a copy of the Stranglethorn Tiger, and have a Stranglethorn Tiger and the 5/5, and steal the original Stranglethorn Tiger, and then you can attack with the Stranglethorn Tiger, thus causing you to basically lose about no tempo while playing a 10/10. And your opponent can't interact with that in any way, and there's only a few of the classes in the game that can even kill that after the fact, if the combo goes off. And then they want to say some of the things they've nerfed in the past, they've nerfed it because they weren't fun and interactive. Like, It blows my mind.
Mind if I roll me?
How can you still play? How can you still say you're trying to make things fun and interactive when you make an uninteractable 10-10 combo on turn 6? It doesn't even. You don't even have to sacrifice tempo to play the 10-10 because you play an on-curve 5-mana 5/5 with stealth, which is good tempo.
Buying or selling.
I don't know.
Do I have to?
Just flare out the first tiger and kill it, is the suggestion from Twitch chat. Just flare out the tiger. It's as easy as that. Flare it out.
Hey, give me that.
I don't know, team. Oh, man. I wanted to get the True Silver swing on this, but I think it's too risky to swing True Silver at that. So then I could coin Mysterious Challenger easier, but if I swing True Silver at that and then he Earthen Rings it or something, I get pretty screwed. Yeah, you can compare Warden to the Faceless Summoner, but now imagine Faceless Summoner and Druid. That card would be OP as hell in Druid.
My eyes are open.
What is that heal?
For justice. The battle.
Thoughts on Fork? The weapon you get off Fork costs 3 mana. The card's a 3 mana 3/2, and it gives you a 3 mana Fiery War Axe. You're overpaying for 2 cards. That amount of overpaying requires you to somehow make up the tempo, and Rogue's only AoE is banished because Blade Flurry is not a real card. So your ability to make up tempo with that card, you can't use it in that class. I can't imagine a class that can actually use it too efficiently, honestly, but it just doesn't seem like a good card. Do I just jam the Challenger and coin the Tyrion and say... There's going to be a target for this in the future, I imagine, but... Like, obviously hitting the highest value target's good.
Who am I?
I'll be okay.
Business.
I've bored all dies to the 1 mana guy anyway, 1 attack.
Battle.
If I'm playing Aldor, then I'm playing the coin. If I'm playing the coin, I'm not getting Tyrion down on 7. I'm not getting Tyrion down on 7, I'm not happy. How good is the new Warlock Discard Imp? The new Warlock Discard Imp is a good card. That card will see play. It's just a good card.
So many possibilities.
It's just got good stats for buffing and trading with Zoo, and it's got an upside to it that sometimes is good. Standalone, pretty good card. Combo with Soulfire, pretty good.
So many possibilities.
None of your business.
He's already played Coil, so now he's got either Shadow Bolt to 6/1 or play an AoE, which will then kill his giant. So what do you got?
Almost out of time.
Alright. The 50-50 on Sylvanas PO. Let's see if we can dodge it. Siphon Soul Ooze also pretty good for him. Overall, if he Siphon Soul Oozes, I'm not too unhappy. My Repentance gets low value, but he needs to have it.
Get in there and fight, maggot.
Abusive to beat the Repentance. Don't the Spirit Claws seem good? Think they could further enable Control Shaman? Would they be used to hit face? Hitting face is pretty suboptimal with him. You got 3 spell power cards coming on turn 2. Odds of being able to get Claws and one of those is, I don't remember what the number was exactly, but I did the math on it. I think it was somewhere around 25%. So 1 in 4 games you get a Fiery War Axe and Shaman, and that's pretty sweet. But most of the time, yeah, it's just not good enough to make like Spell Power Shaman a deck, right? It's a good standalone card, and it would be good if Spell Power Shaman was a real thing, and if there was like a lot of real Spell Power cards. But there's just not enough real Spell Power cards. So I doubt it'll make Spell Power Shaman better than the other synergies that already exist in Shaman. The other synergies in Shaman are simply just better. Well, let's just try and kill him, I guess. The most aggressive approach possible to this turn. That doesn't even work. I should have did it on that. I don't know. That was dumb. Alright, we're gonna do this the other way then, and not look dumb. The most aggressive approach possible-ish, without pushing 6. The most board control-y way of this turn, force an AoE, then be able to play N'Zoth for good value against no AoEs. That'll work. Anyway, Priest uses Pantry Spider, they need 3 drops. No. Pantry Spider is not good in Priest. If Pantry Spider has any merit, it would be if the Spider off of Pantry Spider also costs 3 mana, then you could play Pantry Spider plus Evolve on turn 4 to get 2 4-drops for 4 mana. And that could be good. 2 random 4-drops is probably about 6 mana worth of value. You're spending 2 cards and 4 mana to do it. It could be even value-ish in Evolve Shaman. I think that's like the only spot where you can see that Pantry Spider is even close to viable. But you gotta factor, like, the card cost of having 2 cards for the combo is quite expensive. But yeah, the Pantry Spider Moat Lurker Evolve Shaman meme could be a thing. Alright, got the AoE out of the way. Tyrion's still not dead though, we need that guy to die. Tyrion will die first anyway. I want to play another minion on the field so I can set up lethal. But I don't want to make it dude because I want this redemption to be threatening. So if there's an AoE, Tyrion dies first because it's on the board first. And we get another Tyrion. Pantry Spider sets up for Houndmaster, right? Doesn't it? You know what else sets up for Houndmaster really good? Animal Companion. Even then, like, the 2/5 is just better than Pantry Spider for setting up Houndmaster. 1/3s are just really bad at trading with things. They trade into anything and kill, like, they die when they trade into anything and they kill nothing when they trade into them. And that's just not a good stat line. So the 2/5 would be a better card. And the 2/5's not a good card. Shadow Bolt. Still have lethal setup. What does he got? Reno? Perfect answer, Shadow Bolt Reno.
I have no time for games.
Sylvanas PO. He's trying to take Tyrion. Or the taunt. That's pretty good for him. How many death rattles we got? We got Loot Hoarder, Selfless Hero, Harvest Golem. We got 3. So we play this plus 3 is 4 minions. If we suicide this in, it would be 5 minions that we play. And we can fit 5 minions, right? 2 plus 5 is 7. So we can trade this in, then push face and play N'Zoth. So if everything gets board cleared here, we're going to have a 2-1 with Divine Shield. Because of the ordering. No, this fires first, then this fires. So we'll have a 2-2 with Divine Shield, and then a 2-1. This Death Rattle fires first, this second, this third, this fourth, right? It's the distance from N'Zoth is the order of the Death Rattles, I think. T. Robinson just subscribed for 9 months in a row. Welcome back to the Batcave team thing, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's how the Death Rattles work. The distance from N'Zoth is the order.
You win this time.
500% win rate. How good are slower control-oriented mage decks outside of Freeze Mage? Well, with the new 2-3, there's going to be potential for one to exist, right? You got the 2-mana 2-3, deal 3 while a secret's active. That card's going to be insane in slow control mages, so I think there's enough cards in slow control mage for a deck to exist. I can't, like, pigeonhole what the exact 30 cards are going to be. I think there's going to be a deck at some tier that exists that centers around that 2-3 card, allowing Control Mage to gain back tempo that's lost from not playing early curve minions. I think that's true. I don't know what the deck list is. I don't know how good it's going to be. I think it'll exist and be at a competitive level. And a competitive level, I mean better than Priest.
Nothing scares me. Except the mice.
Is it worth Tech Yogg-Drink to beat Zoo in tourneys? Depends on the amount of Zoo you're seeing. Zoo's lost a lot of popularity recently. It is the general public's opinion that Zoo is a tier 2 to tier 3 deck now. One of the weaker tier 2 decks in the game. So I don't expect a lot of Zoo to be seen in, you know, big tournament play, since so many players have been kind of falling away from it. If you look at, you know, Team G2, for example, one of the most successful teams in Hearthstone, have really not been playing too much Zoo at all and been swaying away from the idea of playing a lot of Zoo in tournaments. So, since their mentality is a lot, I find a lot of players tend to copy what they do since they're having success, and then the popularity of Zoo goes down. Is Zoo really weak right now for ladder? No, I think Zoo's fine on ladder. I just think that all of the decks in the competitive meta, you look at it, you got Druid, that's pretty 50-50 against Zoo, then you got any form of warrior beats Zoo. Now you're looking at what other decks are people playing in tournaments. You know, all of the decks in the tournaments that people are playing, Zoo just doesn't have the most great matchups against. They have like okay matchups, like don't get me wrong, but none of them are like top tier matchups, which makes Zoo kind of fall middle of the road. That's my opinion on Cloaked Huntress. In a controlled sort of hunter deck that you'd want to be playing a lot of traps in. Alright, let me back it up. Let me put it in perspective of current mid-range hunter builds. The amount of traps you play in mid-range hunter right now is about 0. Sometimes you sneak in the 1 trap, but most of the time you're not going to be playing any traps in your hunter deck. So if you play Cloaked Huntress, now you got to put in traps, which you've already deemed are suboptimal in hunter right now, just because you don't have them in there. The odds of having the Cloaked Huntress and a trap on turn 3, if you run 4 traps in your deck and you hold Cloaked Huntress off the mulligan, or full mulligan for Cloaked Huntress, is about 25 to 30%. So your odds of actually, you know, getting the Cloaked Huntress plus Trap Dream players is pretty low, and you have to run traps in your deck, and we've already deemed that traps are not good cards. So overall, I don't think the card's great in any sort of tempo-reliant deck. I think it's going to see more play in Yogg Hunter. I think it's going to be the Yogg and Load, you play the Controlled Huntress, you play Yogg, or not the Yogg, you play the Lock and Load, and then you play all the traps and cycle cards. I think that's the purpose of it. I don't see it seeing too much play as, you know, a Spider Tank with some upside in Hunter. Spider Tank's just not good enough.
Bring the pain.
Oh, yeah.
None may steal our secrets. Not in my house.
Turn 10, we get all of them Infested Torrents back. We had 2 Infested Torrents, a Selfless Hero, a Loot Hoarder, potentially a Tyrion. Got him. We didn't even get to play our Tyrion into N'Zoth yet. I just want to point out, we've had Tyrion into N'Zoth almost every game. And that's because we run double Loot Hoarder, double Acolyte of Pain, and then Mysterious Challenger. And Mysterious Challenger draws 3 on average in this deck. Drawing that many cards is insane. Finding the odds of having Tyrion on 8 and the odds of having N'Zoth on 10 ridiculously high. Did I like high school / do well? I skipped high school most of the time. I don't know. I skipped a grade in high school, and then I showed up like a grand total of 10 days one year. So, I don't know. So my grand total of high school experience was basically 1 year because I didn't like showing up. I did alright though. Uh-oh, we're dead. We have Loot Hoarder, Harvest Golem as good top decks. Only 4 good top decks if we play the Secret.
Let me think.
Were you partying or playing games? Playing games. I didn't like partying.
Reporting for duty.
I like playing video games. Casey subscribed for 6 months in a row. Welcome back to the Batcave team thing, man. I appreciate the support. Oh my god. This is the downside of playing a deck like this. Sometimes you draw all of the secrets and lose. And that's no fun for anybody. When am I going to release the card view for the rest of the adventure? I have it all done and recorded. I'm just waiting for the video editor to release it. The expected release date is the 9th, so 2 days. I didn't drop out. I went to college afterwards. Kinda need the degree. Mysterious Challenger is also gonna pull no secrets when we finally get to it.
Cthulhu! 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 Reporting for duty.
How'd you graduate without showing up? I went to a charter school, so it had like different rules. I followed all the rules and graduated like normal people. My rules were just different. Sometimes lucky.
Battle.
Why not keep Harvest Golem in my loading hand? Didn't seem good enough. Could have kept Harvest Golem. I had Repentance, Harvest Golem, and Sylvanas Windrunner in my opening hand. If I had one card that was like semi-decent, I could keep Harvest Golem, but I had no other cards I was keeping with it, so it didn't feel like the most exceptional thing to keep. Doesn't help me deal with Innervate starts. Subpar. We pull Noble Sack and Repentance. Good enough for me. This way we're able to deal with Ancient War. So Sylvanas, the merits was we also get to deal with Ancient War, but this way we get a 6/6 and can deal with Ancient War and draw 2 cards out of our deck, trying to improve the rate at which we find Tyrion, which is a little bit terrible right now because we did unfortunately draw all of our secrets and none of our card draw earlier on. So now we're going to draw all of our card draw instead of being able to filter out all of our secrets. It's just a double whammy on making it harder to find N'Zoth, harder to find Tyrion, and our top decks being less relevant. Okay, nice turn. That was just fair.
I have no time for games.
For justice.
I don't know. Maybe he does some sort of weird way to kill Sylvanas without attacking. Like mulch. This helps play around mulch. He's just gonna hero power then mulch. At least he has 3 mana left to develop, right? We're really banking on drawing something big with this line of play.
Where shall I strike?
Oh, that went well. Yeah, see, these would have been secrets that filtered out with the challenger if we'd drawn our deck in the right order. But we're here. Is college better or worse than Hearthstone? I like my life now better than I liked my college life, if that's what you're asking. I don't know, I'm not too big on the party scene. I like having my own place, doing my own thing, chilling. I don't like living with people, rooming with people, that sort of thing. I'm really happy with my own little setup. Maybe I'm just antisocial, but I have fun just playing video games, doing what I want. I want to draw cards off these so I have things to play this turn. If I quality concentrate, I just keep loot hoarders on the field. It might actually be good enough. If the loot hoarders get removed, it's kind of awkward though. What other cards do we have that we can play? We play almost anything in our deck. Yeah. I think we'll do it. We have 2 equalities, otherwise we probably wouldn't make this play. Probably should draw out the first one first. We'll hold this back just in case we can get value off this Acolyte of Pain. We didn't draw too many cards this game.
Behold the rage of the fireland. Where shall I strike?
I think Hearthstone meant high school. Oh. Ah, that's funny. That's funny. Tyrion N'Zoth, Mysterious Challenger, 3 out of 11. We don't want to leave these minions up, do we? I mean, we could just Peacekeeper both of them, and then clear next turn, then we have 2 draws. Real bad if he's got Wisps of the Old Gods or Nourish.
Reporting for duty.
It's okay if he has most anything else. Swipe's always a bummer.
The Ancient One calls.
There we go. And you got a little bit more mana invested on the table for our quality nonsense. And now we're board clearing at a state where, you know, we get 2 draws for Tyrion and N'Zoth. Okay. Is that better? No, probably not. It's probably just the big tempo play and then hope we hit our 3 out of 10. 4 drop's probably fine. He probably plays Yogg and we just run a flip on the game after this. I think a flip's good for us in this position, so I'm gonna force the Yogg. Like we're in a bad position here with 0 cards. So we'll try and force the flip if we can. If he has to play Yogg here. Oh wait, he's Cthulhu. What am I talking about? It's not even Yogg. Firebat confirmed bad. On stream. You've seen it here first. Salvo Zero was not Tyrion or N'Zoth.
Nothing scares me.
Well,
Except
he was baiting me out, and he did it quite successfully. We're dead.
For duty.
I mean, Yogg Cthulhu Druid's not that uncommon, but we know he's playing only Cthulhu Druid because we've seen Klax the Amberweaver already.
Cthulhu is my shield.
Your minions will abandon you.
Do I have a stream schedule? I don't really have a stream schedule. I don't know. I stream more for fun than I do for profit. Like, obviously it's semi for profit, but I try not to run... I don't run any ads. You get ads automatically from Twitch if you're watching on mobile. And I just kind of stream whenever I have time and whenever I feel like streaming. And try and focus, like, doing on other things to make money besides Hearthstone. Or besides streaming. This game's not going anywhere.
The victory is yours.
Do you feel like Blizzard needs to make the ranked chests better for Legend? I don't know. I have all the cards, and when I need cards, I spend gold on cards or, like, real-life currency. So, generally speaking, the chests don't incentivize me at all, so I can't really speak on the players that are going through that incentivization process. I don't know if that's a word, but, you know, the process of needing to get incentivized to continue climbing ranks. So I'm not on that grind. So I can't really speak about it. Like, I don't have any experience with it. By the time I had all the cards, that didn't exist yet. So, I can't even say. And I have to ask someone that's actually going through that process.
nothing
There we go.
scares me.
Got our early game card draw. Gonna hit that Mysterious Challenger on 6. Gonna pull those big minions. Gonna die to pirates. Oh. We got the curve.
Mind if I roll me?
Problem is his weapon kills their entire deck.
My blade be thirsty.
Maybe we'll draw on a quality combo. I mean, just Consecrate might be good enough if this goes there. Infested Tauren might slow him down a bit. Noble sack. Let's play Aldor Noble Saxy, give ourselves the ability to find Infested Tauren Redemption off the top.
Get down!
So much damage. We lose to Blackwing Corruptor if we play this. If we play this, guaranteed to take 4.
I wonder.
I think we just have to do it. We lose to Blackwing Corruptor, second War Axe. Like, even Slam is a problem. Is Detroit really that bad? I don't know, I moved to Berkeley. Firebat, are you writing things down? Tournaments I write things down. Ladder, I don't really write things down.
Astonishing.
Drew competitive spirit, so we only got 3 instead of 4 secrets. Feels bad, man.
None of your business.
Get down!
What is my least favorite deck ever? Least favorite deck ever. It's a tough question. Probably Control Warrior. I think Control Warrior is just boring. A lot of people really like Control Warrior, though. Tyrion, let's go.
None may steal our secrets.
We're live. Ish. I don't think we need to get rid of anything. I think Control Warrior is fine. It's just not something I prefer to play. I think it's just the play style I favor the least. I've always found the OP broken decks pretty fun. Blizzard takes 6 months to nerf them, and I'm usually pretty good at them. So I usually win a lot. Like in all the metas that there were busted decks, I did very well in tournaments. All these balanced metas, I'm not as good at. This Rag Roulette though. RNG be with me. If we win this game, it's a miracle. Yeah, everyone's pretty good with OP decks. There's certain players that are just, like, enjoy playing OP decks the most because they just love, like, winning. Some people are just like, no, it's just too oppressive to play the OP decks. I don't want to learn it. I'm not one of those people.
Who am I? None of your business.
Don't test me, child. Reporting for duty.
Alright, Rag.
Battle.
Hit this Tyrion. Oh, he's gonna be upset. Oh, has he got execute? Execute number 2? Is he a god? Is he the chosen one? Oh, man. 11, 12, 13. Just hit a 1-1, baby. And then draw Consecrate. Number 2. 10%er. If he hits a 1-1. Otherwise, we're pretty dead. We're running out of steam here, and he's got a War Axe. We have Competitive Spirit. That gives us +2. Ah, that's enough. 11, 12, 13, 14. Hit a 1-1. If he hits a 1-1, we win the game. He's going to rope it out and enjoy it. Good Rag. Good win condition. Rag's just a fun card for everybody. Really well designed. Everybody loves it, right? I think Rag's pretty cool. Just fuck that guy. We had to win like 6 coin flips in a row. It's so lucky. Oh, RNG be with us, man. Guy needs to disenchant his Ragnaros and get a golden one. I hear they're better.
Uther versus Garrosh.
Victory or death!
I will fight
Yeah.
with honor.
Why doesn't Sylvanas play Hearthstone? Alright, I'll bite. What's the other side of this joke? Why doesn't Sylvanas play Hearthstone? Is that supposed to be a joke? Or did I miss it? Do you think the new Discover book card will be included in any mage decks? If it was Discover, I think it would be an auto include in a lot of mage decks. But it's not Discover. It's generate random card. So since it's not Discover, I did all the math on it, and it's in one of my videos, and I don't think it's going to be played. We're just gonna wait and Coin Harvest Golem. Because she has no time for games. But she's in a game.
I can't do that.
What's the point of the headset if you aren't listening to music? I listen to music on my phone, so the music doesn't come up on the stream, so that I don't have to rip it off the videos before I upload them to YouTube. Or so my editor doesn't have to rip them off the videos before he uploads them to YouTube. And because most people, you know, enjoy listening to their own music, they get to pick out their taste instead of being forced to listen to my taste.
I wonder.
For the life binder.
Fishing fan. I believe the random on Onyx Bishop is implied, even though it doesn't say random.
duty.
This could be useful later. Am I consecrating next turn? He's there. Still got 2 3/3s. I gotta consecrate next turn regardless, right? I take too much damage if I don't. Since we're consecrating regardless, I'll hold back the Self Asura instead of gaining 1 life off of it. I don't want to just developing it blown out by Corruptor. We'll take too much damage. We're at 18. We got no heal in the deck. I don't want to die.
I wield the power.
Yep, that would have killed me. All of the tempos. The Wombo combo. When your deck's Wombo combo is Infested Torrent Redemption, you're probably not playing a good deck. I realize this. You guys don't have to tell me. Other decks have better Wombo combos.
Let me think.
Okay.
I have no time for games.
It's just so inefficient, all the other plays I have that turn. So I'm going with this one. Now, after we know all the new cards, which existing cards do you think will get a buff/nerf before release? I don't think they're going to buff or nerf anything. If they buff or nerf things, that's admitting they're wrong. Blizzard doesn't like to do that. They're very confident. Priest is totally fine, guys. Didn't you read the Reddit thread? Somebody's got to be 9th. And they're not going to change from that stance. I don't know, they get pretty flamed on Reddit, though. They might change. But typically speaking, nobody likes to change. Once they say an opinion, they stick to it.
I must choose.
Stop killing me, man.
None may steal our secrets.
Let none survive.
Could have tried to steal the monkey or something ridiculous.
Nothing scares. Nothing scares me. Except
Looks like we're playing Rag Roulette again. Or he's just gonna kill me. One of those two things is happening, right? This is cards have been here since turn 1. This probably costs 8. Or is a burn spell. Uh-oh. The top deck card's never a good sign. We're dead.
Is that it? Avenge me!
Follow the rule.
Not in
Let
my
none survive.
house.
Is that it?
True silver for lethal. If we're alive. We're not alive. I think there will be a viable secrets mage. They just have so many good tools for it, right? Someone will figure out something eventually.
Uther versus Garrosh.
Victory or death!
I will fight with honor.
If you Shadow Madness plus Purify the creep you stole, do you keep it? No, you don't keep it. If you kept it, then it would work with Silence as well, and it doesn't work with Silence. Elder's probably not worth it. When will you review the next cards in Karazhan? I have the rest of the review recorded. I could potentially just show you guys it, the unedited version. Or I could just, you know, go over all the cards really briefly. With the release date from actual videos, I'm planning to release 2 on the 9th when my video editor gets back from his dad's house, because he's celebrating his dad's birthday there. And then 2 more on the 10th to get the last 30 cards reviewed.
Mind if I roll me?
That's my game plan for the 30 cards. But I mean, for my like dedicated viewers, I could allow them to see. As you guys do watch my live stream, then you know maybe at the end of the stream just run the card review. But unedited might be a bit sketchy. You guys might make fun of me, man. And then everyone's gonna watch the YouTube video and be like, we already saw this, why do we want to watch this, you know?
Hey, give me that!
Nothing scares me.
Reporting for duty.
Oh, you got me.
Let the pain speak to me.
Yeah, okay. After this game, we'll do the card review. We'll do the card review video.
My blade be thirsty.
I'll record the video and upload it to YouTube tonight. I think I can complain about that, but I don't know. Don't do that. That'd be bad.
Get down!
Consecrating there could have been worth. It's sketchy. It's such a heavy curve, you know? Alright. I drew all my big boys. Uh, 15. We go to 3, huh? Shit.
I wonder.
Play that, we go to 5.
Who am I? None of your business.
I don't see any winning line from this position, honestly. I tried to play here Renounced Warlock and lost 3 ranks. Feels bad, man. I got top 100 with Renounced Darkness Warlock. It's not that bad of a deck. There's a lot of decks in Hearthstone that are just not that bad, but not tier 1, you know? The decks on the tier list are just real good, man. And the other decks are just a couple of percentage points behind.
Get down!
Didn't you create Dragon Warrior? A lot of people credit me for Dragon Warrior. Just saying, at the first build of Dragon Warrior that I saw, involved a lot more card draw than I wanted it, so I got rid of like slams and Acolyte of Pains, made it more aggressive, hit people in the face. And then since then, you know, it's been optimized further. A lot of people started adding Onyxia or Deathwing. Really did just need that one extra high-end threat, so... People started adding First Mate, which I think was an improvement to the deck. Stuff like that. But I did make an iteration in the mid of Dragon Warrior that was good. Before Dragon Warrior was popular. Who really knows who made the most optimal version, right? The optimal version usually is just pieces from a lot of different versions of Dragon Warrior or whatever deck. And then you put it together and it's magic. Sick, Harvest Golem. Alright, let's not die. Just clench our butt cheeks real good and hope we live. And then Harvest Golem will carry us to victory. And Tyrion. The Harvest Golem's the main star, and then Tyrion's just, you know, the sidekick. Just Saying makes every deck? Yeah, dude, Just Saying's a sick deck builder. Like, during the deck building process of, like, original idea, then refining, then the masses refining once it becomes popular, Just Saying's usually the original idea guy. I'm usually more of in the refining process, and then the masses are the people that, you know, make the real refined version. So yeah, Just Saying's a real good deck builder.
Put your faith in
The hardest part is always the first guy in that chain, and Just Saying is usually the first guy in that chain. Do you think you can take an autocomplete deck to Legend? In certain metas, I think you can. If everyone is playing Zoo, you could take an autocomplete deck to Legend, because for some reason, whenever you autocomplete a deck, there's 2 mind-controlled decks, Baron-Geddon, Sagoth, and Deathwing. So, I don't know why that's the case. Alright, so a lot of people have been asking about the card review, so I'll just throw that up. We'll do... We'll do a card review really quick. Alright. Let me pull up the cards, and then I gotta, like, pull up my slideshow to talk about the cards. And I'll just go over them briefly. I'll just go over my notes, because the video's unedited. So rather than watching an unedited video, you can watch me live goofily talk about the cards. Alright, let's see what we can do here. And this can become, you know, that. Oh. Where'd my face go? Are we blocking anything important? Not really. Alright, so we got One Night in Karazhan card review number 3. 4, 5, and 6 notes. I don't know why they released them all at once, but it made it a lot harder to make videos in increments that made sense. So anyway, first up we have Firebat. So this is a 3-mana 3/3 neutral mech card. Battlecry, give a random beast, dragon, and murloc +1/+1. Now the first thing I like to think about when I try and evaluate this card is how many buffs does this need to land for it to be an effective card? Like, if it lands on 1 minion, is that good enough for tempo to win you the game? At that point, it becomes a situational Shattered Sun Cleric with +1 health, which I think is awful. I don't think it is nearly good enough. You don't have, like, great value trades off +1/+1 anyway. That's why Shattered Sun Cleric isn't seeing as much play as it was in earlier stages of the game. You just don't get good value trades off +1/+1 because of Sticky Death Rattle minions and just the stat line that general minions have. Generally, +2 is, like, attack is required to get a value trade. So, due to the inefficient value trades of this card, you need to hit 2 buffs and then you can actually just kind of zoo people down by just having so many stats in the field, because you get 5 stats for 3 mana, which is pretty good. But it's very, very, very rare that you're going to get this to land on 2 minions. Since you don't get it to land on 2 minions, it's not a great card. I don't see this seeing much play. There's not enough early beasts, dragons, and murlocs that are strong enough to support this card. Even if there was, it still needs to hit 2 of them, which is unlikely. Next up, we have Pompous Theisman. Taunt is really weak on earlier turns. Also, it's a 2-mana 3/2, which is garbage. So, Taunt's really weak on earlier turns because you want to be protecting something with Taunts. If you're protecting your face, that's great. When you're at 30 health, why are you protecting your face? Doesn't matter. You got 30 health to play with. Doesn't help you. No one's soul-fired you in the face in turn 1 and winning the game. You don't need to stop chargers coming at you. Like, Stone Tusk Boar turn 1 is not a good play. So taunting to stop that isn't great. You'd have to be protecting a 1-drop, and most of the 1-drops aren't worth protecting. You play 1-drops in your deck. All the 1-drops that are currently played in competitive play get value trades. Besides, you know, Firebat, I guess, is the only 1-drop in competitive play that isn't getting value trades, really. So there's no real reason to protect any of these 1-drops because they have higher health than attack and then get buffed anyway. So the stat distribution's poor, the card's bad, the card's not going to see competitive play. Next we have Silverware Golem. This is actually a really interesting card, and there's a lot of talk about this card. A lot of players think it's crazy OP. I'm not one of the correct players to think this is crazy OP. I think the odds of discarding the cards you want in Hearthstone is pretty low. Almost incredibly low. Your hand size needs to be so crazy small, and there's a lot of high-costing cards that you play in Zoo in, you know, the 4 and 5 mana slot, that it's going to be hard to get your hand to be in a situation where you can discard this consistently, so you're going to be having to win 50-50 coin flips to get a free 3/3, and if you lose the 50-50 coin flip, you're discarding something like Argus, Dark Iron Dwarf, Gormok, Sea Giant, or Doomguard, and if you do that, you're in a worse position than getting a free 3 mana 3/3. So I'm on more in the camp that this card's not going to be good enough. I could be totally wrong on that, but I think that having a dead card in your hand really hurts you. I think the odds of discarding the card you want are too low to justify playing it. I think you never want to play a vanilla 3/3 for 3, just because that's absolutely terrible when you look at Councilman and Imp Gang Boss as your other options, which are absurd. And the opportunity cost of just having a dead card in your hand in Zoo and aggressive Warlocks where you benefit from getting a 3-mana 3/3 is too high. Like, the opportunity cost of a dead card sitting in your hand, the only card right now in Zoo that's a dead card sitting in your hand, aside from like minions that are waiting to be buffing things, is Power Overwhelming. And even then, oftentimes you'll have a hand with 2 Power Overwhelmings as Zoo and you'll be like, I lose the game. I missed 1 drop on my curve. The game's over. That's how tight a Zoo deck needs to be built. And this card doesn't allow you to build a tight, consistent Zoo deck. And I think the inconsistencies is what's going to cause the aggressive playstyle to fall apart. So I'm not in the fan of this being a staple in Zoo. I think the card could be alright. I don't see it being a big staple in Zoo or discard Zoo. Like, unless you go full meme discard Zoo, then great. You meme with discard Zoo, it's fun, everybody loves it. You can do that. But I don't think it's going to be a staple in just regular, you know, regular discard Zoo, if that makes sense. Just Soulfire's, Malkazar's Imps, Doomguard Zoo. I don't think you would play Silverware Golem. Alright, next up, Netherspite Historian. This is a 2-mana 1/3 Battlecry. If you're holding a dragon, discover a dragon. Now, I don't think a lot of people really looked at this card as closely as I did. The stats are really mediocre, and it's bad for the limiter of needing a dragon. The upside of the card, though, that is actually pretty interesting is Paladin, Priest, and Mage all only have one dragon, and Discovers are weighted 4 times more likely to get class-specific cards. Well, you only have one class-specific card in Paladin, Priest, and Mage. So you got about 45% of getting, you know, your Dragon Consort, your Twilight Whelp, or your Cordura Drake in those classes. And in Paladin in particular, Dragon Consort's really good. So the ability to get 3 Dragon Consorts, upwards of 4 Dragon Consorts, and just Dragon Consort into Dragon Consort into Dragon Consort is pretty cool. I think there's some potential there. You know, it's 45, so it's not even favored in your odds to get the Dragon Consort. But, you know, you play 2 of them, you probably get a Dragon Consort. When you do get the Dragon Consort, it's really cool. Helps out your curve. So I think it's actually a pretty interesting card. Has potential to see play. I think 1-3 in stats is not that terrible. It's pretty terrible, but at least it's got the health, you know, to poke some tokens or do something in a control matchup, and it generates a lot of value when it discovers a card. So I think there's more potential to this card than a lot of players think. I still don't think it's a great standalone card. It definitely needs support to make it work. But overall, I think it's okay in the current status of things. I wouldn't consider it highly playable. It's like on the low end of potentially playable. That's where I'm at with that. It's not great, but I think it's got some interesting aspects that kind of got overlooked. Next up, we have Fool's Bane. This is a 5-mana 3/4 warrior card. Unlimited attacks each turn, can't attack heroes. So Fool's Bane, I feel, is not comparable to Brawl. A lot of people are like, it's so great against Zoo, it's like Brawl. Well, the problem is, it's going to take 4 attacks, you're saying, to clear off a Zoo's board, and that seems unrealistic in my eyes. Imp Gang Boss shuts that down right off the bat, and then you got to look at all the Death Rattle minions, and it's just not comparable to Brawl. Brawl would be better. You would spend 5 mana and no life to clear the board, and you don't really want to run 3 Brawls in your deck anyway. So I don't think it's going to be replacing Brawl or be in anywhere near the same slot as Brawl. I think it's played in a completely different deck than what you would play Brawl in, and I'd play it in a mid-range deck where you want to be using the weapon to use your face to kill one of your opponent's minions or 2 minions that they have in the board on like turn 5, for example. You just kill like 2 3/2s, or you kill their 4/6, what have you. And then the following turn, when they play their second minion, you kill their second minion, and then you play your 6-drop, and you've effectively transformed 12 to 15 life into being a card ahead on the board, which I think is potentially okay in some warrior decks. Doesn't seem great. Seems like it could be a decent fit in like Dragon Warrior, things like that, to be just like a way to catch up on board and change your life into tempo. It is a very expensive amount of life that you're changing into tempo, so I don't think any deck can really support 2 of them. And I don't think it's going to be great in Control Warrior. They just have better board controlling options than this. It's just so much life you have to exchange for board control. So I think it's in the slightly playable, almost unplayable category. So I don't expect it to see too much play if it sees play at all. Next up, we have Moonglade Portal. This is a 6-mana druid card. Restore 6 health, summon a random 6-cost minion. So average 6-drop is about a 5/5 in stats. Healing 6 health is rarely good. And the biggest factor about this card of why I don't think it's going to see play is it's not strong with what druid does. And that's innervate big things, wild growth so they can play big things. When you innervate in the early game to try and play something big, you don't want to be healing 6 health. That's irrelevant at that stage of the game. And when you wild growth to then play something big to recover the back of the board tempo, you're investing mana in the earlier turns to get ahead to then play something big, and this restores health and it's not something big, and it goes in the slot of where you could put anything big. So it just doesn't fit the theme of what Druid's trying to do. You don't accomplish what you want to be accomplishing to winning the game, and you don't want to play this and then also big cards that you can innervate out, because now you just have a really high curve, awkward deck with some weird 6-drop. So I'm not a fan of the card. I don't think it's going to see any play. I think it's pretty weak. Next up, we have Menagiri Warden. This is a 6-mana 5/5 battlecry. Choose a friendly beast, summon a copy of it. So the first thing I want to point out is that this is crazy strong with Stranglethorn Tiger on curve. Basically, no deck can really deal with Stranglethorn Tiger. It's a 5/5 with stealth. It's pretty much guaranteed to stick on the board unless they do something obscene to kill it. And then when you play this on 6, you're playing a 10/10. And then you get to clear their minion with Stranglethorn Tiger, because a 5/5 for 5 is good stats. So you don't have to play any sort of bad stats options. You don't have to play any sort of real too big of a downside to your curve, and you can potentially blow people out with absolute nuts combos that your opponent can't interact with or stop. except unless they're playing exactly N'Zoth Paladin or like Freeze Mage or I don't know, like Reno Lot can sometimes do it with Power of Enemy Shadow Flame, but there's not a lot of classes that can interact with the blowout potential of this card. So you have a large majority of games you can just win without having to interact with your opponent's board, really. You just kind of play minions and stay even on board, play Stranglethorn Tiger, they play a 5-drop, you play a 10-drop, and then they're done. So I think that's pretty crazy and broken. It has, basically, you kind of, if you look at it, to be as good as Faceless Summoner, you basically have to hit Druid and Saber or better to be worth it. Even then, though, the reason why this is so good in Druid especially is because Many Bodies is so strong in Druid. You have Power of the Wild, you got Savage Roar, especially in like your aggressive Beast Druid with Savage Roars. You're going to have such great blowout potential with multiple bodies to play this, and then if one of the bodies sticks, you get the extra damage with Roar, you get to play a minion plus Power of the Wild, that's suddenly live. Just opens up so many things because of how powerful multiple bodies are with the current set of Druid cards. And then worst case, the smallest beast in your deck is probably going to be the 2/2 Raven. So occasionally you hit like the 2/2 Raven, and you're a little sad about your life, but that's not even that bad. And you can hold it in your hand if you're behind on the board and play, you know, Innervate with it or whatever, and then on turn 5, play like the Raven plus this, and it's not that bad. So there's so many options where this card's going to be good. I can't imagine this card being bad. I think that this card single-handedly will make Beast Druid become a thing, and not to mention the other cards pushing Beast Druid right now. So I think it's pretty straightforward from Blizzard. They wanted Beast Druid to be a deck, and I think they're going to get it. Next up, we have Cat Trick. So after your opponent casts a spell, summon a 4/2 Panther with Stealth. This card is very questionable. It's kind of similar to Bear Trap, right? Because it summons a 3-mana minion for 2 mana, so you're net gaining 1 mana potentially. But the 3-mana minion you're summoning isn't really even worth 3 mana because they're both, you know, very mediocre 3-costing minions. This is only good when you're ahead on board, right? Your opponent's not going to play spells to clear your minions, or spells in general, if you're not ahead on board. If you're behind on board, they're going to play a minion. And then if you're still behind on board, they're going to play another minion. And then they're going to punch you in the face, because that's what you do when you're ahead in Hearthstone. You keep dropping minions until you kill people. Let's run out of them. But so you could potentially play games of this where you're behind, and then you play this, and then it never, ever gives you a Panther. So you have to be ahead on board. It could be strong with Secret Keeper, since that's an interaction that forces the spell, right? Turn 1, Secret Keeper. Turn 2, you play this guy. And then they're like, oh no, I have to kill his Secret Keeper. Wrath. More likely Fiery Works. But it has the potential to work with Secret Keepers. So there's something going on there. I don't think it's great. I don't think this card is worth spending 2 mana on in most situations. A lot of decks have really few spells. If you look at Dragon Warrior, Zoo, and any sort of early game aggro deck doesn't really utilize too many spells. They just kind of punch you in the face. So I don't see this card being very good or playable in too many decks. Next up, you got Cloaked Huntress. This card's really interesting. It's a 3-mana 3/4 for Hunter. Your secrets cost 0 while it's on the board. So one of the big issues with it, though, is that Hunter lacks a card draw engine to support this effect. So assuming you play all of the traps in your deck, traps are extremely low impact cards. They cost 2 mana, they're worth, you know, about 2 mana, oftentimes less than 2 mana, and they're situationally worth more or less than 2 mana, depending on what you're looking at. Anyway, if you don't have any card draw in your deck and you're playing all your traps for free, you're going to play a bunch of traps. Your opponent's going to be like, oh no, my opponent has no cards and played a bunch of traps. This is a terrible situation for me. And then they're going to systematically go through all the traps and then kill you because you have no cards. So you're going to need some sort of draw to support, you know, the low card impact quality of traps if you're going to play this in a straightforward try and kill you sort of deck. It is insane with Freezing Trap. So if you just play 2 Freezing Traps and then 2 Huntresses in your deck, maybe sometimes you can occasionally get a combo off of Huntress plus Freezing Trap. The odds are very low that you get it on exactly turn 3. Even when running 8 traps, see you got like 38% there. With running 4 traps, I think it was 25%. So, you know, the odds of you having Cloaked Huntress on 3 and then a trap's pretty low and pretty lackluster for tempo. I don't think it fits in tempo decks. I think it's just, you know, Spider Tank with a slight upside, which isn't a good enough 3-drop to really compete with Animal Companion and Eaglehorn Bow. So I'm not really impressed by it in the traditional sense for Hunter, but I could see it seeing some play in Yogg and Load Hunter for the Wombo combo, right? If you play Cloaked Huntress, Lock and Load, and then all the secrets. Like, that could be a real thing. Yogg and Load Hunter, by the way, a lot of people think it's like a joke deck, and that's a deck that a lot of people have been hitting Legend with and hitting high ranks in Legend and finishing, you know, top 100 in Legend with. So it's like a real deck that's on the radar to become better. So this is a card that helps that archetype and could potentially push it on to actually being on the tier list, you know? Next up, we have Medivh's Valet. This is a 2-mana 2/3 battlecry. If you control a secret, deal 3 damage. So, it's not great on curve because secrets cost 3 and it costs 2. So obviously you're not going to play a River Crocolisk on curve. So one of the ways that I think this card could see a lot of success isn't really in Tempo Mage. I think Tempo Mage is going to be kind of worse for it since Tempo Mage can't afford dead cards as much as other archetypes of Mage can. And also Tempo Mage doesn't traditionally run too many secrets unless you're playing the Chinese version, and then it runs Ice Block. But it only runs 1 copy of Ice Block because it can't afford too many dead cards. But in Freeze Mage, you can afford to have pretty dead cards early on because your entire deck's just kind of card draw and you draw all of it. I could see it potentially going in over Roaring Torch, or Forgotten Torch, in Freeze Mage, just because it does the same thing as Forgotten Torch without adding a card to your deck, so you can have more removal in Freeze Mage, which is the purpose of the Forgotten Torch, without the downside/upside, depending on how you look at it, of adding more cards to your deck to make it less likely for you to find your Freezes, your Giant Sweepers, and your Alexstrasza and your Ice Blocks when you need them. You can instead, have a thinner deck and be able to find that Alexstrasza on 9 more consistently, and still have that extra damage that you get in your deck of having Forgotten Torch in your deck. So it kind of mixes the Forgotten Torch version and the non-Forgotten Torch version. It takes the good parts of both of them and puts them together and then adds a 2/3 because fuck it. And then, when a Secret's in play, this card has insane value, obviously. I think there will be a Mage deck revolving around Secrets that's created eventually. I can't picture it off the top of my head. A lot of people have been looking around trying theory crafting it, and all the ones I've seen from theory crafting have looked pretty bad. Even though all the ones that's been from theory crafting have looked pretty bad, this card has such insane value that eventually I think there will be a Secret Mage deck that's pretty viable. Alright, next up we got Nightbane Templar. This is a 3-mana 2/3 battlecry if you're holding a dragon summon 2 1/1 whelps. This has 4/5 worth of stats, which is insane for a 3-drop. It's also split among 3 bodies, which is insane on turn 3. And the reason why it's insane on turn 3 is because it lines up perfectly for Keeper of Uldaman, Blessing of Kings, Silver Moon Portal, just all of your Paladin buff cards all cost 4, and this lines up perfectly for all of them. It's a lot of stats. It's the new muster for battle. It's a really, really good card for Paladin. It starts making Dragon Paladin look a lot more appealing and can potentially be a thing. And its stats are pretty good for helping you trade with, True Silver, for example. You ever had that situation where someone plays a 3/5 against you on turn 4? Well, now you get a 1/1 whelp that can trade in at 3/5 with your True Silver charge. So it's so clean for setting up all of your Paladin turn 4 plays. It's so amazing to play this on curve as Paladin, just because the amount of options in the cards that are traditionally speaking pretty bad cards become so good. Blessing of Kings becomes a 4/4 charger at that point. It gets ridiculous when you can guarantee that things have bodies for it. So this card's pretty broken. It's really, really good. Next up, we have Silver Moon Portal. This is a 4-mana Paladin card. Give a minion +2/+2. Summon a random 2-cost minion. So the big issue with this card is the cards it competes against, right? You're looking at the Paladin 4-drop slot, which is one of the best slots in the game for Paladin. So it competes against True Silver Champion, which is one of the best Paladin cards, Keeper of Uldaman, which is one of the best Paladin cards, and Blessing of Kings. When a Blessing of Kings has a target, and we're assuming Silver Moon Portal has a target if we're playing it, Blessing of Kings is one of the best Paladin cards. So is it better than those cards? And I'd say, no, it's not better than those cards. +2/+2, I don't believe is enough to reliably value trade in the current metagame. Especially when you look at this card. If you give one of the whelps, the 1/1 whelps +2/+2, you don't have that reliability of being able to value trade with it. So odds are you get a 3/3 whelp, or if you land it on the 2/3, I guess you get the 4/5, which can sometimes value trade, but against a lot of people's 4 and 5 drops, 4 attack's not good enough. 5 attack's more like the perfect number you want, which is why Kings just ends up being a lot better. And random 2 drops are bad, and occasionally you get Doomsayer and Cry, which isn't great. So I don't think the card's going to really see too much play. It just has too much competition in that slot. There's so many cards in that slot that do the same thing but better, so I don't understand why it's here. Next up, we have Purify. This is a 2-mana priest card. Silence a friendly minion and draw a card. So, Silence Priest, you got Ancient Watcher, Eerie Statue. If you look at these cards with Purify, Purify invests 2 cards and then draws a card, so it's like a 1-card investment to create a 4/5 for 4 mana with Ancient Watcher, which Chillwind Yeti exists and is not played in Priest, so this 2-card combo is probably not good. And then you look at Eerie Statue. That's 4 mana plus the 2 from Purify is 6, and replace a card. Now you're looking at a 7/7 for 6 mana that requires 2 cards, which is probably just worse than Boulder Fist Ogre on average. So you don't see too much play going in there. You got Moat Lurker, so that's 8 mana to be able to kill one of your opponent's minions and play a 3/3, which is worse than Assassinate, plus play a 3-drop, which isn't played right now. You can silence the beast. Alright, I don't really need to go through all of these. All of these are just not worth the cost of the card. The large opportunity cost, because there's few good targets, it's going to be dead in your hand most of the game, so that could be a playable card in your hand instead of being Purify, while you're waiting for these crazy wombo combos to fire off, and the combos are just not good. It could potentially make OTK Priest better, because it's just another cycle card to try and find your 5-card OTK combo in Priest. The issue is you have to silence a friendly minion, so then you have to play a minion and then play this on it to be able to cycle the card, which is really slow, and the only minion you'd want to do that is none. So I don't expect this to see any play. I think it's a terrible card. Next you have Priest of the Feast. This is a 4-mana 3/6 Priest card. Whenever you cast a spell, restore 3 health to your hero. So biggest issue with this is that Priest simply can't utilize the body. The body would be amazing in so many other classes. Like if Paladin, Druid, anything that has mid-range minions and buffs would love this card, just because it's got such a huge butt on it that you can really use it to value trade things if you have buff cards. Priest only buff cards Inner Fire. So really, Power with Tentacles, which is a 5-mana buff card, which is just a ridiculous amount of investment into one single card. So I doubt this is going to see any play, because you can't utilize its high health and low attack without any buffs. You just run it into any 4-attack minion and then heal it, and then they run their 4-attack minion back into it, and then they just traded 1-for-1 with you and made you hero power, and you're falling behind already right there. So it's just terrible at fighting for the board. Its stats are pretty mediocre for what Priest can do with them. It's not great. It works well with the Priest hero power and works terrible with the Priest cards, which is a big fundamental problem with the Priest class. They don't have any buff cards. They have all high health minions. They need high health minions to work with their hero power, and they need buff cards to work with high health minions. And Blizzard doesn't want to give them both of those, because then I guess that would be busted or something. But without being able to utilize to get board control with their card, they can't really win that way. And healing 3 health to your hero when you cast a spell is just a really irrelevant effect. It doesn't really accomplish much. You need the board, man. That's what Hearthstone's all about. It's all about the board control. Just randomly healing 3 health to your hero is very inconsequential. Priest doesn't run Earthen Ring Farseer and cards like that just because they don't really care about healing their hero. They just want to win the board for once in their life. Alright, next up we have Onyx Bishop. This is a 5-mana 3/4 Battlecry. Summon a friendly minion that died this game. The reason why you would play this over Resurrection is because it's the 2 cards combined into 1, which is better for when you don't have card draw in your deck and when you're looking to just kind of curve out on your opponent, basically. I don't expect, like, if you're playing a Resurrect deck, you'd obviously rather play Resurrect, because then off of Resurrect you can't get Onyx Bishop back. So the deck where this is better than Resurrect isn't very many. It would be like an on-curve Priest, and Priest curve's terrible. It would be a deck where you're looking to try and play this to high-roll people with a decent curve, and Priest just can't do that as a class, so it doesn't fit with the theme that Priest's trying to do. It doesn't help you control the board or get ahead on tempo in any way. In the one version of Priest that does have a decent curve, Dragon Priest, where you think maybe you bring back some cool dragons, all the dragon cards are terrible because they all rely on Battlecry in the early game, so then you're basically playing Silverhand Knight in your Priest deck, and that's just not good. So I just don't think this is a card that Priest wants. I think it's a bad version of Resurrect for Resurrect Priest. I don't know, maybe you play it and you can high roll Injured Blade Master every time. The issue with that is there's only 2 Injured Blade Masters in the game that you can put in your deck. So that's why I don't find this card being exceptionally exciting or really accomplishing anything for Priest. It needs more support to work with it. In any other class, this card's great, right? Like, you put this in, I don't know, Warrior. It's insane. Suddenly you curve out with Dragon Warrior, and sometimes you get back big minions with this, and sometimes it's just a Silverhand Knight at worst. Like, that's the way I look at this card. It's a Silverhand Knight at worst, and then occasionally you high roll with it. And I can see that being a pretty good card in a lot of classes. Next up we have Swashbuckler. So this is a 1-mana 1/1 Pirate Battlecry. Add a random class card to your hand from your opponent's class. It can be useful with your rogue weapon to trade up into 3/2s. So one of the ways the rogue pretty much plays the game now is they pretty much always dagger up on 2, and that's an investment that they make on turn 2 instead of playing a 2-drop, because oftentimes it's just better than playing a 2-drop, and then they can use spells plus their dagger to help them remove things, and that investment's just worth it to them over a 3/2 most of the time. Now, Swashbuckler, fits with that theory. You play the 1-drop, then on turn 2 you dagger, you trade that and your dagger charge in. You've net gained a 1/1 dagger charge worth of tempo. So I could see that being okay. I think it has very weak pirate synergy in Rogue. Like, Rogue's pirate synergy is garbage. I don't know why Blizzard keeps printing pirates to Rogue. The best thing you can do with pirates is, like, give them +1/+1, or play Sky Captain Craig. Like, they don't really have a pirate synergy card. Like, Warrior, for example, has a pirate synergy card. They get the upgrade effect on their weapon when they play Bloodsail. And, this guy just doesn't do anything. You can see him have play with Ethereal Peddler. That's fine, right? Like, you get an extra card for Ethereal Peddler, which could be okay. I think overall, there's not enough steel cards to make that work, even with this being added. You don't want to play this in your deck very much, I don't think. I think this is a very low-impact card. I don't think it accomplishes enough as a 1-drop to justify playing. I think it's a pretty bad card. I think oftentimes the cards you get from the Battle Cry is going to be quite unplayable for the situations you're in. So I don't think this is going to be a good card. I think it falls into the category of the same thing as Babbling Book. I think it's slightly better than Babbling Book, but I still don't think it's going to be a great card. If the Ethereal Peddler deck becomes a thing, it'll fit into that deck. I don't think it's going to become a thing, though. Burgle's not a good card. The only thing they got going for him is the 2-mana 2/2 that fits in that deck. So other than that, they really don't have much going for him. So I think there's not enough cards really to make that deck work just yet. And this card doesn't change that. Alright, next up we have Deadly Fork. Deadly Fork is a 3-mana 3/2. Add a 3/2 weapon to your hand. So when you play a 3-mana 3/2, you immediately lose tempo, because a 2-mana 3/2 is most of the time a loss in tempo. So now you're paying 3 mana to play that 3/2, so you're even losing more tempo. So, and what benefit do you get after you've lost that tempo? You get a 3-mana 3/2 attack weapon, which is also another loss in tempo, because when you play King's Defender, it oftentimes is not that great. And also, if you look at the timing when you're playing this, if you play Deadly Fork on 3, now you're playing a 3/2 weapon for 3 on turn 4. If you're not comboing it with Backstab or Deadly Poison, you're probably not killing anything with it immediately. So it's just not a good card to have in your hand in the first place. Warax and King's Defender and all the 3/2 weapons, even Deadly Poison, they lose value as the game progresses because the size of the minions get larger as the game goes on. So you're forced to have Warax on turn 4 now for 3 mana, which is just awkward and a loss in tempo, and then Rogue just doesn't have any real AoE to support the loss in tempo to come back. Like, Blade Flurry doesn't exist anymore. You can't, like, the new version of Blade Flurry is just not good. So you can't recover the tempo that you're lost from getting the weapon from this. I don't know, you prep Vanish and go face a bunch, I could see that maybe, and you just Deadly Poison and just Reaper somebody with prep Vanish. Maybe that's the line, and it's a good aggro Rogue card, but I don't see it seeing too much play in most Rogue decks. I don't think it's going to be a good card. Next up, we got the Wicked Witch Doctor. This is a 4-mana 3/4. Whenever you cast a spell, summon a random basic totem. So, Wicked Witch Doctor plus spells plus things from below, or, like Primal Fusion and all that sort of stuff gets pretty nuts. Like, you could actually have some really cool Primal Fusion turns and act as sort of like a mid-range shaman sort of card with 2 Primal Fusions and do some weird, funky stuff. I think that is pretty cool. The fact that it can, like, lower your things from below is pretty cool. It's got some kind of neat synergies with Totem Shaman. Is it enough to make Totem Shaman a real deck? I'm not so sure. And something to note is that you only summon basic totems, so you can't win automatically like you can with Tuskar Totemic, which is a big downside to the card. It does have potential in, Evolve Shaman, since the totems cost 1 mana instead of 0 mana like the Violet Teacher Apprentice tokens. So, maybe you throw it in some sort of mid-range totem Evolve Shaman, and it does alright. I don't think it's going to be a good card. I don't think it's going to be a bad card. It is a good card for that deck archetype. Does that deck archetype have enough support? It's probably got as much support as it's going to get, so it seems like it could be okay. It's on the very low end of playable if it is even there. Next up we have the Spirit Claws. This is a 1-mana 1/3 weapon for Shaman that has +2 attack while you have spell power. Spell damage cards to support this, like in curve, you have Blood Mage Thalnos and Cobalt Geomancer. So you only got 3 cards that can support it, going in on curve. If you count Spell Power Totem, I guess you have a little bit more. But so turn 1, if you run all the 3 spell damage cards, 2 Spirit Claws, and you full mulligan, only keeping Spirit Claws and spell damage cards, then you have about 25% chance to have Spirit Claws into Spell Power card, which is not great. It's not great. 25% of the time, you get a War Axe with an extra charge by turn 2. It is, though, like, on its own, a good card for Spell Power Shaman. Like, you know, this plus Azure Drake on turn 6 is like Azure Drake Rockbiter, which is pretty cool. I think it's really solid in Spell Power Shaman. I don't think Spell Power Shaman has enough synergies to make a deck. Like, I think Totem Shaman's stronger than Spell Power Shaman. I think Aggro Shaman's going to be stronger than Spell Power Shaman. I think just generic mid-range Shaman would be stronger than, you know, than Spell Power Shaman. Like, the Spell Power love is the most underdeveloped thing in Shaman right now. They just started getting it. They're probably going to get more Spell Power love next expansion. That's when Spell Power Shaman's going to become a real thing. But in its current state, there's other synergies in Shaman that are just more well-defined. So this is like the new direction they're hinting at with Shaman is what I feel. Next up, we have Maelstrom Portal. It is a 2-mana Shaman card. Deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. Summon a random 1-cost minion. Right off the bat, I think 1-cost minions are too low impact. We can kind of see that demonstrated when you look at the Raptor and Druid that summons a random 1-cost minion, the 3/2 Death Rattle. I mean, this card could be alright against Zoo. It's the same logic with Arcane Explosion, right? Arcane Explosion can sometimes be okay against Zoo. But the reason why a lot of people don't play Arcane Explosion is just because it has such a narrow range of matchups. And this deck is going to be the same way. Like, what do you do against Druid with this card and against Warrior? Like, it's just useless. So, there's just not enough decks that this is good enough. If there's enough decks that just flood the board with 1-health minions, obviously the card will be good. But I don't think there's ever going to be a situation where there's enough decks in the game that are just spamming 1-health minions, like Zoo does. And just, Shaman has better cards that are less situational. Like, Shaman is the class with the most standalone, just good cards. So really, if you want to play Shaman, just jam 30 standalone good Shaman cards in there, and you'll probably have a good deck. You don't need to play cards that rely on spell power or having other cards or anything like that in Shaman. Alright, next up we have Ironforge Portal. This is a 5-mana warrior card. Gain 4 armor, summon a random 4-cost minion. I look at this and I immediately think about like Shield Maiden and how busted Shield Maiden was from GVG, and this is like a really, really bad Shield Maiden from GVG. So, one of the benefits going for this card, though, is that the 5-slot in Warrior is really weak. Like, there's not a lot going on. You sometimes got, like, a Harrison Jones in there. There's really not too much happening. It's like 2 Brawls and a Harrison Jones at 5 in Control Warrior. So the 5-drop slot's really, really weak in Warrior right now. But one of the issues that comes down to this card is the reason why Shield Maiden was played was because when you played Shield Maiden, like, in that meta, Shield Maiden was replacing your bombs in a lot of the Control Warrior decks, and they would play, you know, to the Elise outs and things like that. And, like, a 5/5 was just good enough in that meta to be considered a threat. Well, in this meta, and what I assume the meta is going to be after the expansion comes out, I don't think a random 4-drop is going to be good enough to be considered a threat. So you can't cut the bombs from your deck to include this, to then try and make yourself last longer. So then what do you have to cut from your deck to try and include this card? And then when you try and look at it that way, it's like, well, there's not very many cards you really want to cut to include this. You already don't play very many on-curve minions, and the minions you do play in things like Cthulhu Warrior and Dragon Warrior are necessary because they fit the tribals. Also, a random 4-cost minion on turn 5, because it's off-curve, is pretty low impact. The only time you really play, like, off-curve is when you're also playing removal while playing off-curve, and the reason why that's the case is because when you play a minion off-curve, generally speaking, the minions on board trade into it efficiently. So a random 4-cost minion on turn 5 is likely going to get free traded into by any 5-drop, which is just really bad if you're playing it when you're not ahead on the board. So you'd have to play it on like turn 6 with Shield Slam, and then it just gets weird, and I don't see this card seeing any play. I think it's too low impact for what it does to fit in the control style of things, and I think it's just not that great of a card to build like your deck around trying to make it better. Alright, next up we have a Runic Egg. This is a 1-mana 0/2 Death Rattle draw a card. It's a neutral card. The first thing I think about this card is I think it could be okay in aggro/buff Paladin. And the reason why I think that could be the case is because you empty it on the board, suddenly, you know, you get your Abusive Sergeants, Blessing of Mights, your Blessing of Kings, even your Moonglaive Portal becomes live. So you have just a ton of way to buff it, and then your opponent has to trade into it and you draw a card. And it allows you to empty your hand for Divine Favor as well. So you can get in situations where you get to flexibly empty your hand for Divine Favor, draw with Divine Favor, and then buff it, and then trade with the minions, draw again, and then just keep going and just keep steamrolling, increasing consistency so you can add card draw to your Divine Favor deck without screwing up your Divine Favor. So I think it could be alright in some sort of aggro paladin build. Other than that, I think it's really too low impact for control decks. And what I mean by that is, in your control deck, do you play Novice Engineer? No, because the 1/1 body isn't worth anything, and all that the card draw does is make you run less cards in your deck, and there isn't enough, like there's already such an amount of cards you want to be playing that you can't afford to run that much draw. It's like, doesn't do anything. So I would prefer Novice Engineer over this in control decks, and I don't play Novice Engineer in my control decks. I think it's too low impact of a card for most aggressive decks to utilize efficiently. Zoo, for example, can't really buff this up to trade up as efficiently as Paladin. They don't have Blessing of Might, I guess, and they don't have Kings. So they're more resorted to just power overwhelming, allowing this to get decent trades. And other than that, Abusive on an 0-2, making it a 2-2 isn't great for trading into much other than 3-2s. And 3-2s are not commonly played on turn 2. Usually the other things are played on turn 2 because the 3-2 is just not very strong. Most 3-drops wouldn't die to it, even with plus Abusive and Direwolf. So it runs into an awkward situation where it's just kind of difficult to get decent value trades with your buff cards available to you unless you have exactly power overwhelming for it. So I don't expect to see too much play in a lot of aggressive decks. Also, if you play at turn 1, you've put a grand total of 0 power on the board. And aggressive decks in this current state don't have enough sticky minions to kind of play the long game. Back in previous expansions when Next Rammus was available, Zoo could afford to play some of the weaker minions and then have like different win conditions that were in the much later game. There was Melganis in Zoo. Zoo had a 9-drop back then. So you could be okay not rushing your opponent down. Now if you look at the curve of Zoo, Zoo's curve stops at 5 most of the time. They don't have the ability to have such a slow start anymore. They're running twice as many 1-drops now. They're a much more aggressive deck than they were back when they could afford to play, 1 power a turn or 0 power a turn with Nerubian Egg. You just can't afford to do that, and it doesn't fit the power level that's required for your aggressive deck. I think it's too difficult for most combo decks to utilize efficiently just because there's no way for the combo deck to kill it. If you kill it with, Wild Pyromancer plus a billion spells and OTK Warrior, or 2, not a billion, but then you've just spent your Wild Pyromancer turn to do what you could have done playing Novice Engineer to discount 1 mana, and I don't like having that situational effect attached there. I'd rather spend 1 mana. So I think this card's pretty terrible. If there is a spot, I think it's aggro/buff Paladin, and even then I don't think it's going to be that great. So I'd say this is on the unplayable side of things. Next up we have Pantry Spider. This is like a worse version of Echoing Ooze from Next Rammus. It's got a really bad stat distribution, and it doesn't have the potential upside that Echoing Ooze had, where it could, be buffed and then the copy also gets buffed. So the stat distribution is very poor. It doesn't trade with very much of anything. Most of the time, you're going to have to trade both bodies into something, and they're both going to die. It'd be much better to just play, if you're looking for a Houndmaster target, to 3-mana 2/5, because then you can at least trade with something, and the minion's still going to live. Whereas this case, it just doesn't really happen. The only potential I see is with Evolve and Master of Evolution. You get 2 3/1s that you can then Master Evolution one of them up into a 4-drop, or you can play Evolve and turn them both into 4-drops, so for 4 mana you can play 2 4-drops, which could be pretty good. Like, the average stats for 4-drops isn't great. Comes out to, you get about 6 mana worth of mana value out of it for 2 cards, which is about average of what you'd expect for 2 cards, 4 mana. So it's not great, but there's some potential there for some weird Evolve Shaman memes. Next up, we have Arcane Anomaly. This is a 1-mana 2/1. Whenever you cast a spell, give this minion +1 health. So, if you want to take a value trade onto a 3/2 2-drop, you need to play 3 spells to be able to do so, which is just not reasonable to be able to do with 2 mana. Like, with the coin, I guess you could kind of make it happen, but it's just not reasonable. And almost all 1-drops that are played competitively, this card cannot value trade with because they're 1/3s and it has 2 attack, or they're 1/1 Death Rattles. And this only attacks once. So it's very hard to get value trades in the earlier stages of the game where this card would be expected to get value trades. So I don't see it picking up too much value trades, which means the other direction you have to go with this card is removing your opponent's minions and then getting some, side value other than chip damage while removing your opponent's minions. For example, you play a turn 1, they play a 3/2, you wrath their 3/2, you go face, they play a 3-drop, you Feral Rage their 3-drop, Suddenly you got a 2-3, they got nothing, you're feeling good about yourself, they play a 4-drop, most of the time they just kill it with their 4-drop. So, what are you gaining out of this investment? And the answer is really nothing unless you have some way to buff it at like those kind of stages of the game where they start playing those bigger minions. Then you can buff this and then take a value trade then. So that's where you get into the spots where your Mark of the Wild starts being a real thing. Your Blessing of Kings, Moonglade Portal, all that sort of stuff start becoming a real way to activate this card when you have that just little body left over at the end. So I don't think it's crazy unreasonable to see this played in Buffetin or Secret Paladin. Secret Paladin, or Buff Paladin's really good at buffing things. Secret Paladin has a lot of cheap spells they can play to buff this guy, and then they can also buff its attack value, which is really important. 2 attack accomplishes very little to nothing in this game. Like, 2 attack is so little amount of damage, and it's so bad for trading, it just doesn't really do much of what you want it to do. So being able to also buff its attack is super key in the equation to making this card playable. So I think this is a card that would go in some sort of Secret Paladin style of deck. And I think it's maybe semi-playable in that, but not really all too playable, especially since I only predicted to see too much play in one archetype of deck. Next up, we have Avian Watcher. This is a 5-mana 3/6 battlecry. If you control a secret, gain +1/+1 and taunt. So if the conditional is not met, this is Fen Creeper without taunt, which is terrible. People don't play Fen Creeper with taunt. People aren't going to play Fen Creeper without taunt. The conditional is very difficult to meet on curve, especially while keeping up with your opponent. A lot of classes can't meet this on curve, really, while keeping up their opponent, because Hunter, for example, the trap's going to be procced. Mage, for example, even if the trap's not procced, you've just spent 3 mana to then get +1/+1 on your guy, which is generally not worth the investment to make up for the cost of hand playing a secret. So I don't expect this to see too much play or be good at all. And without the conditional met, or with the conditional met, this card isn't even very good. Like, Fugan from Naxxramas was a 5-mana 4/7 and saw almost no competitive play. And this is a 5-mana 4/7. On turn 5, it's basically a 5-mana 4/7 because you had to play a secret. So what minion are you protecting with the added taunt effect? None, because you played a secret. So I don't expect it to see too much play. I think the taunt is not too relevant with the card. I think the card's bad. Next up, we have Moat Lurker. This is a 6-mana 3/3 battlecry. Destroy a minion, Death Rattle, re-summon it. This has synergy with your own Sylvanas or Death Rattles in general in N'Zoth Paladin for doing it on your own minions to then be able to get like extra copies of the Mouth N'Zoth, which is really slow, but there, there's potential there. Sometimes Sylvanas sticks on the board. You play this on Sylvanas, you steal a minion, then you get Sylvanas back, and it's really cool. But I think that's very situational, and I don't think that's like reason enough to justify playing the card. One of the cool synergies with this card is it's another one of those random cards that everyone thinks bad that also somehow has synergy with Evolve and Master of Evolution and Shaman. So, you play this, you destroy a minion, and then you get rid of this card's Death Rattle by transforming it into a new minion so that they can't get their minion back, and then you get a 7/7. So, it's not that bad. On like turn 10, for example, you can play this with Master of Evolution, so it fits perfectly for that sort of curve. And on turn 7, you play a 7/7 and kill one of their minions is not too bad with the Evolve combo. I don't think Evolve Shaman's really going to become a thing. I just think it got, a silent buff that nobody really noticed with a lot of these cards. Maybe Evolve Shaman's going to be something down the line. It definitely got a buff in this expansion, good enough to make it go from, tier 100 to tier, 3. I doubt it. But it's just something to think about when you're looking at these cards. It's like a bunch of these happen to be pretty good in Evolve Shaman. That's kind of weird. I think it's just too expensive to see much play for the most part. It's just such an expensive card to use. It's so slow. And its effect is not crazy. And its stats are so bad. Next up, we have Menagiri Magician. This is a 5-mana 4/4. Give a random friendly beast, dragon, and murloc +2/+2. So basically, effect needs to land on at least 2 creatures for it to be worth it, because if effect lands on 1 creature, then it's very similar to like Houndmaster, but costs an additional mana for an additional health, which is like so bad. It's just not worth the mana value investment of the card. And there's not enough creatures to build your deck around to make this card work. There's not enough good beasts, dragons, and murlocs. Even at this point, with just playing all the good beasts, it's very hard to make Houndmaster land because there's not enough decks, or there's not enough minions with tribal synergies that can fight for the board early. So you never have the board early, so then you never get to the point where on turn 5 you have a bunch of minions on the board and slam this. It's always turn 5, your opponent is Zoo and they have stuff on the board and you have nothing. So I find it very hard for you to build a deck with tribal synergies and then also have board control, which is the big problem with this card and Zoobot and Houndmaster and a lot of the other cards. They just don't have the early game to support it, and if they did, it would snowball too hard and be busted. So it's like, you gotta question the actual intention of the design there, when if it works, it's too good, and when it doesn't work, it's useless. Can I help you? Alright, we only got 2 more. Just give me a minute. Alright, next up we have Arcanosmith. This is a 4-mana 3/2 neutral card. Battlecry, summon an 05 minion with Taunt. It's got some decent synergy in Shaman with Flametongue Totem, Rockbiter, and Evolve and Master of Evolution potentially, depending on the cost of the 05 Taunt. And, you know, the 05 protects the 3/2 to be able to get Master of Evolution off consistently. So that's kind of cute. I don't think it's going to be a good card. In most decks, it's just a worse Senjin Shieldmaster. You know, Senjin Shieldmaster has the ability to attack something and value trade with it, and this card just doesn't. You know, you have the 05 body, which is with the taunt to protect your minions, and then if Arachnosmith has to trade with something, you've already became worse than Senjin Shieldmaster, because Senjin Shieldmaster likely trades into that and survives, and then hits another thing. And this just trades into it, and then you lose all the attack power of the card. So, I don't expect it to see too much play. You know, Evolve Shaman. I don't know, man. Next up, we have Arcane Giant. This is a 12-mana neutral card. It's an 8/8, costs 1 less for each spell you've cast this game. It's too slow for Tempo Mage, in my opinion, taking up a card slot early and not what you want to be doing late game. What I mean by this is, as Tempo Mage, you oftentimes transition from... Alright. Ava's really got to pee. I'll be right back. Alright, so I think it's too slow in Tempo Mage. Taking up a card slot early and not what you want to be doing late game. And what I mean by that is Tempo Mage oftentimes in the early game they want to be playing their sheep spells, controlling the board, and then the late game they transition into burning their opponent out. And nowhere in that formula is there room for an 8/8. The curve stops at 5 with minions. At that point, the 8/8's unplayable. And then at the later stages, they start burning the face, setting up their Yogg, slowing down the board with removal spells. And an 8/8 doesn't help do that. So I don't expect it to see too much play in Tempo Mage because I don't think it fits the game plan of what Tempo Mage tries to accomplish. I think it could be really solid in Token Druid, and it could be okay in Yogg Hunter, and maybe some weird OTK Giants Warriors. But in Token Druid, the curve goes from, 0 to 9, so you can take out your 9-drop here at the end and then just throw Arcane Giant in, and oftentimes you're going to be able to utilize that body more effectively than, Tempo Mage would be able to, because Druid just keeps even on board with their opponent the whole game. They keep trading and stuff like that, and then they have their power turns on like 6, 7, or 8 or wherever, where they do like busted Violet Teacher stuff, busted Fandral stuff, or play Innervate, Anixia or Innervate Cenarius. And Arcane Giant can just kind of do that. You just play a bunch of spells, and now, bam, you throw that for a discounted cost while you're fighting evenly for the board, and suddenly you're ahead, and then you take advantage of your opponent, you win the game from that position. So I can reasonably see this going in Yogg Druid or Token Druid pretty well. I just don't think the opinion of it going in Temple Mage is gonna happen. Anyway, that was all 30 of them. So that's what I think about those cards. Let's see. What did Twitch chat say? Looks like the expansion has a bunch of garbage cards. Yeah, that's my thought as well, is there's a bunch of garbage cards in the expansion. I was really excited in the beginning. My first video had so many cards I thought that were playable. There was like crazy. The first video had like 5 out of 7 cards were playable. Now at the end of it, there's like 11 out of 45 cards that are playable. And I'm just sitting here like, why? Why? How do you feel about having pets? I like having pets. I get really lonely if I don't have pets. I think they're just nice to have around. Entertaining. Alright, any other questions? Anything else? Will Barnes see play? Barnes will probably see play. And all the Nuzlocke decks will obviously just throw it in there, because why not? Runic Egg and Rogue combo Cold Blood plus Raptor. Raptor on Runic Egg is probably not good enough. I don't think it will see too much play in Rogue. Like, Raptor Rogue is already not a deck, and this card doesn't make it become a deck all of a sudden. Does Purify work on Shadow Madness so you keep the minion? No, Silence does not preserve the minion on Shadow Madness. How OP will Beast Druid be? Beast Druid will be pretty good. Worth it to buy Karazhan? I mean, everyone's gonna buy it anyway, right? Malagos Druid with Barnes and the Curator, yes or no? Probably not. Sounds sketchy. Arcane Giant and Miracle Rogue? I doubt it. Discard Zoo? I think they'll play Malkazar's Imp, Soulfire, and Doomguard, but I don't think they'll play any of the other discard cards. How many cards total will this expansion bring? I think it'll bring, 10 good cards. Maybe like 7 good cards and then some tech cards. Will Beast Druid be tier 1? I mean, if they can reasonably... if Enchanted Raven is enough to help make Beast Druid live till turn 6, and they can be reasonably not dead by turn 6, then yeah, the Warden combos are going to allow Beast Druid to be tier 1. But the question is, will they get aggroed out in time or not? So, you're going to beat every control deck with Beast Druid. Like, its power level is insane on turn 6, just being able to copy any of your minions that stick. The question is, will they be able to live against the aggro decks? And that's going to create a meta that's going to have a lot of Cancer stuff beating down Beast Druid, and Beast Druid beating down a lot of control stuff that's beating down the Cancer stuff. So it's going to be that cycle. Is Priest playable in the next adventure? No, Priest is going to be the worst class again. How good will Freeze Mage be? I think Freeze Mage got a slight improvement. Yeah, it is really disappointing. I also look at expansions generally having a lot of really high quality cards. And like day 1, when they first announced the cards for this expansion, and I saw all of the cards, and it was all the first few cards, I was so excited about the ones they were showing. I was like, wow, if the whole expansion is like this is going to be game changing, this is going to be great. And then they just jumped these 30 cards all at once, and we're just like, here's the rest of the cards, guys. And I was pretty disappointed. What about Dragon Paladin with the new Templar card? Yeah, obviously that's going to be a thing. The new Templar card's really good. How do I feel about the card Steel Rogue? I don't think the card Steel Rogue's very strong. Alright. Anyway. Hoping Mage would be tier 1, and we get... Yeah, the book's not great. A lot of people think the book's good, but I'm fairly convinced it's not good. Favorite card in the expansion? My favorite card in the expansion is definitely the Curator. I think that card's really cool. I think it's really strong. I think it's just cool. Do I think Stranglethorn Tiger is going to be core in Beast Druid? 100%. Stranglethorn Tiger is going to be all up in that Beast Druid, man. Will Dragon, Murloc, Beast, Aggro, Zulok be worth? No. Anyway, guys, that's going to be the end of my stream. Thanks, everybody that tuned in. I appreciate it. You know, everyone tuning in, saying hi. The few subscribers we got today. We're almost up to 80 subscribers. Feels good, man. And I'm going to have a much more well-refined version of this card review up on YouTube in like 2 days. It's nice and fancy, and if you missed any of the cards, you can see it then. And it'll be edited and clean and beautiful, and you can jump around to the cards that you want to see. It'll be a nice day. Anyway, take care, guys. I appreciate it.